Good evening. I call this meeting the Bastrop Independent School District order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present and that this meeting has been duly called and that a notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. This time, if you'd please rise for the pledges and a word of prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice.
Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
You'd please remain standing. Tonight we have Chris Lott. He's our pastor for the Catalyst Community Outreach. Mr. Lott, thank you for being here.
Let us bow our heads. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you that your hand is upon this meeting tonight. We thank you, Heavenly Father, that your hand is upon every board member, every community member. Lord, we ask you, Lord, to be in the presence of those that are here today. Let us have a like-minded spirit as Christ, and let us tonight show an expression of your love to one another in our community and what we are proud of. And Heavenly Father, Lord, I ask you right now to bless this time, bless everything that is said according to your purpose and your will. And we say, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Lott. All right, at this time, Mr. Edwards, would you introduce our student speaker for Character Education Trade for November, please?
Yes, it'd be my pleasure. I'd like to introduce everyone here to Michael Castillo. Mr. Michael, want to come on up, Michael? All right. Well, let me tell you a little bit about Michael on his way up. He's a fourth grade student at Cedar Creek Elementary School who enjoys mixed martial arts, baseball, reading, and drawing. He is a proud member of the Cedar Creek Elementary Choir, and he'll be performing here tomorrow in this very building at the Elementary Jubilee. Additionally, he enjoys participating in his Gifted and Talented program at school. Michael, you can.
Good evening, board members, and thank you for having me tonight. It is a great privilege to be here. My name is Michael Castillo, and I'm a proud fourth grader at Cedar Creek Elementary. I love being the first student to walk into Ms. Hager's class in the mornings. Compassion is the ability to understand the feelings of others, care for them, and help in any way possible to turn a bad mood or day into a good one. When you are compassionate towards others, you are being kind. That kindness hopefully gets paid forward, inspiring others to be more kind as well. We all know that we could use more kindness in the world. You never know what someone else is going through, so being compassionate is an excellent trait to have. It shows that person that you care, that they matter, and that you are considerate of their feelings, words, and beliefs. Yes, you may not always agree, but listening and understanding where they are coming from is often all someone needs. When I notice that my mom is having a bad day, I make sure to give her the space she needs because she works hard, especially with my baby brother. On those days, I check in on her so that she doesn't have to do much for us. When I see my dad having a bad day, I try my best to make him laugh. I also offer to watch a TV show or movie with him to help lift his spirits. With my baby brother, sometimes it can be a little more challenging. I bring out his toys and play with him on the floor. Sometimes I put on a TV show that we can watch together. Or I bring him snacks because who doesn't love snacks to help cheer them up. I remember the first time I was shown compassion at school. It was during my first week at CCE. A student came up to me and asked if I wanted to play at recess because he noticed I was shy. Little did I know that he would end up being my best friend just by asking a simple question. Last year, we had a new student in our class. I noticed that he was shy and quiet. I remembered feeling like that when I was new, so I asked him if he wanted to work together. He said yes, and the more we talked, the more we discovered we had in common. He is now one of my best friends. While at school, I show compassion towards my classmates by asking them what's wrong, offering a listening ear so they can talk about it, telling jokes, and inviting them to play at recess. I've never seen Ms. Hager have a bad day, but with my teachers, I always offer a hug and ask if they are okay or if there is anything I can do. I've noticed that a hug can go a long way. Showing kindness, having compassion, and treating others with respect are what we need to turn a sour day into a sweet one. I ask that you open your heart and spread kindness. Ask someone how their day is going, listen to them, offer your help, or give them a piece of candy. You will see that not only will you make their day better, but you will also notice a difference in how you feel. Thank you. That candy shop is the most embarrassing thing ever.
Michael, before you leave, first thing, I'm not gonna lie, I need you. Can you come to my office and just hang out with me? And show me a little compassion? Michael, we have a gift for you. You did an outstanding job. I'm very, very proud of you. And will you introduce who's with you this evening? Michael, who's with you tonight?
Ms. Hager,
And who else?
Who's over there?
Ms. Tolling,
And who else?
and Mr. Ortiz.
And Mr.
Oh, and my
Ortiz?
parents.
And your parents? Can you introduce your parents?
I have to say their name.
If you'll just give us a wave, Mom and Dad. Very proud. You did a great job. Thank you so much for sharing with us tonight, okay? Enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, let's go, bud. He's so nervous.
You would never know he was nervous. You know, when Michael grows up, hopefully he'll want to be on the Superintendent Student Advisory Council. As you all know, each month I meet with students from each of the high schools, and tonight we have representations from Bastrop High School and Cedar Creek High School, and I'm going to ask each of them to introduce themselves, your grade, and what you want to do after high school. And I'm going to start with Saray. If you'll put the microphone closer to her, Brooke, there you go.
My name is Saray Cornelius. I'm a senior, and I forgot your
What do you want to do after high school?
Oh, I want to go to Prairie View A&M and major in psychology.
Great job.
My name is Brooke Godfrey. I'm a Cedar Creek senior, and I'm hoping to go to UT for public administration.
Emma?
My name is Emma Griesenbeck, and I'm a senior at Bastrop, and I recently got into Mesa A&M, so I'll be going there to study finance.
My name is Hadley Ackerman. I'm a senior at Bastrop High School. I plan to either attend Texas A&M or work for LCRA.
Great. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. At this time, we'll move into our recognitions and special presentations. Item one there is Texas School Safety Team Teen Ambassador Haley Lightnum, a 12th grade student at CRCA, and the presenter tonight is Ted Coleman, our Safety and Security Coordinator. Mr. Coleman.
Good evening, Mr. Board President, Mr. Edwards,
You're a
and Board
star.
Trustees. I want to introduce and recognize Haley Lightman this evening. Haley is a senior at Colorado River Collegiate Academy. She is a true leader at Circa and a productive community member. Earlier this year, Texas School Safety Center at Texas State University started an initiative inviting students to serve as teen ambassadors through an application process. The selected teen ambassadors collaborate with school district safety professionals and safety professionals at Texas State University. These school safety teen ambassadors serve as a voice for students in their district and for the entire state of Texas. Haley had a lot of competition from the beginning, starting right here in the district with 30 applications. With hundreds of other districts participating, that totaled thousands of applications. I'm proud and humbled to recognize Haley this evening. She and 8 other teen ambassadors were selected to represent and advocate for safety and security in schools for the entire state of Texas. I look forward to working with Haley to ensure school safety and security remain our priority. Even though this recognition is about Haley this evening, I want to also thank the rest of the applicants for the time and effort that they put into the application process and their desire to advocate for school safety. The application process was extensive and highly time-consuming because Texas State University sought to select the best of the best. After high school, Haley plans on pursuing a career in child welfare social work. Haley's selection as a teen ambassador is just fitting. It just makes sense. She wants to serve and be a voice for children, which is the most noble cause and honorable cause there is. Haley?
Haley, thank you for applying, and congratulations, and we're very proud that you'll be representing Bastrop ISD, and good luck with your college ventures, and thank you for doing that. All right, moving along to our Bastrop High School and Cedar Creek High School Marching Band UIL area. Our presenter here is Jerry Guy Cordova, our Director of Fine Arts. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the school board, Mr. Edwards, and community. I am honored to present our next two speakers from our high school band programs. Bastrop High School under the direction of Mr. Gilbert, Mr. Gutierrez, and Mr. Wysocki, and Cedar Creek High School under the direction of Mr. Davis, Ms. Kennedy, Mr. Russell, have had a very successful marching season. Their directors have brought out the absolute best in each of our student musicians, but also instilled a sense of unity and pride that has carried through every rehearsal and performance. From the bright and early morning practices to long Friday night lights, they have made Bastrop ISD very proud as both bands earned superior ratings from judges at UIL Marching Contest and advanced to the Area D Marching Contest on October 26, where they exhibited their commitment to excellence and passion for music. First, from Bastrop High School, Mr. Gilbert is currently at a Region Jazz Band concert, so unable to be here, but Mr. Gutierrez is here with his students. And they're going to come up and introduce some of the student leadership and talk a little bit about their season.
Trophies. Yeah. Wow.
Well, good evening. My name is Jeffrey Gutierrez, and I'm one of the assistant band directors at Bastrop High School. I am joined here by three of our four amazing drum majors, Molly Gertz, Emma Estelor, and Jasmine Velasquez. Tonight, we are missing our color guard director, Leo Navarro, assistant director, Orion Wysocki, and our head band director, Kenneth Gilbert, who is in Austin with a student of ours, Cooper Cervantes, who auditioned and earned a spot in the all-region jazz band. Tonight is our concert at Austin High School, so they could not attend here tonight, but we are extremely proud of him. This past season was definitely one to remember. We've taught our students that if they work hard, great things will happen, and man, this season was great. They received our 9th consecutive superior rating at the Region UIL Marching Season Contest, which earned them a spot at the UIL Area Contest, where we placed above 12 other bands, placing us 17th out of 29. We also went to perform at the Bands of America Contest held in McLean Stadium at Baylor University, where we did place 3rd in our class. There are so many people whom our directors in the marching band would like to thank. First, we'd like to thank our students for their hard work, their drive, and their determination to create these great moments each and every year. It was amazing to see their growth as musicians and athletes, from the triple digits of the July heat to the cold mornings that we've had these past few weeks. We'd also like to thank our Director of Fine Arts, Mr. Cordova, for his support of our program, and our Superintendent, Mr. Barry Edwards, and the rest of the board for their continued support of the fine arts as well. We are very happy to come to work every day knowing that our passion is supported by the district and the community here in Bastrop. And last but certainly not least, we'd like to thank our principal, Mrs. Crystal Gabriel, because from day one she has supported us and has done everything she can for our band program at BHS. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Congratulations.
Next, from Cedar Creek Band Program, Head Band Director Mr. Davis and his student leadership will share some of their season highlights.
Good evening, Board. My name is Dalton Davis. I'm the incredibly proud head band director of the Cedar Creek High School Marching Band. Today, I have 2 of our 4 drum majors, Karenese Camillo. It's gotten wrong at every single marching contest. She told me not to mess it up, and I definitely messed it up. I apologize. And Alberto Vero. We have Crystal Guerrero couldn't make it tonight, and then Clarissa Perales could not either. Also missing tonight is Miss Caitlin Kennedy, Mr. Jason Russell, and Miss Rebecca Henry Cooper. At our band hall right now, there is a mock region audition to get the kids ready for, right after the break, we have region bands. So they are judging students right now, as long with some of our middle school directors. But to mimic what Mr. Gutierrez said, it was a very productive season for us. Our season is just as long as theirs. We started the year off with our drumline going to Thunder in the Hills, where they placed 3rd in their class and received best drumline. Next, we went to Seguin Marching Contest, where we competed with some very, very big bands who ended up going to state, and we got 3rd in our class. After that, we went to the Hill Country Regionals at Piper, and we got 4th in our class, and then UIL, where we received 1s, and then area where I believe we finished 19th this year, right behind Bastrop. But every part of the program grew. We increased our numbers, we increased our staffing, we increased our show. Our show this year was entitled The 3 Musicians. It was based off of the painting by Pablo Picasso. So if you look in the photos up on the board, we actually had the pictures of the actual Picasso piece on the field. Our uniforms were also based off of Cubism, and that was what we tried to convey on the field, was the art movement Cubism. So a lot of shapes, geometry. Also, all 3 musical selections were from the period that Picasso was a painter. So it was a very collaborative piece with our art programs and the design team, and it was a really great year. I would also like to thank, the board for helping support the band programs. Mr. G. Cordova for helping support us, not only financially, but also with encouragement throughout the season. I would also like to thank my principal, who's been incredibly supportive this year with all of the crazy things we have to do and extra rehearsals and time and out of the class. And so I just want to say one more thank you, and I hope we can continue to grow our programs and be just as successful next year. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to both band programs, directors, students, and administration. Thank you, the board, and Mr. Edwards, again, for your continued support of all our wonderful fine arts programs.
Thank you. All right, moving along to number 3, we're going to recognition of business and community partners. Our presenter is Karen Trevino, our Director of Community Relations. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to recognize these wonderful partners who are contributing to our schools. I'd like to start off with Lost Pines Toyota and Ascension Catholic Church. I believe they're represented here by Mr. Carlos Liriano, Christy Shea, Father Luis Alberto, and Debbie Moore. If you all would please come up so that you can be recognized. And I'd like to explain a little bit about what you've done for our district. So these 2 wonderful partners have partnered with our district to bring awareness and education around traumatic brain injury. Through a grant that was written by Trustee Priscilla Ruiz, we have been able to bring this awareness. This group is in the planning stages. They've been working with our Student Health Advisory Council to bring this program to fruition. We look forward to seeing what comes of this. We know that it's going to have a profound impact on our students and especially our student athletes. So thank you very much for all that you're doing now and will be doing in the future. Mr. Ruiz, would you please come up and join them for a picture? Oh, you're welcome to say something if you'd like to ask something.
She didn't practice her speech.
Thank you.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you. Yes, please do.
They cut a check to Bastrop ISD in the amount of $80,000. So it really is impressive that we have corporations who are willing to step up and work with schools. Schools cannot do it alone. It's obviously, we're all in this room because schools can't do it alone. And so I want to say thank you really to the brainchild of this entire idea, which was Carlos Siriano, and the Toyota team for really going above and beyond. And I believe that, if I'm correct, Carlos, you correct me, we're only 3 dealerships in the nation participating in this program. So it's a lovely thing. Bastrop is on the map. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to recognize Frontier Bank here in Bastrop, represented by Ms. Brittany Rogers. Brittany? So as you may know, Frontier Bank recently bought the Art Institute building that's over on Main Street. And immediately, when faced with a bunch of art supplies, they reached out to the district and donated all of those supplies. So it ended up being well over $1,000 worth of supplies, including paper, paints, pencils, art desks, and storage lockers. All of those things have gone directly into the classrooms to support our teachers and especially our students. So we definitely appreciate your contribution. Thank you. Next, I have a group that's been working diligently from the start of the school year. These are this year's Adopt a School partners. You can see that we have 7 businesses up here, and together they have collectively adopted 9 of our campuses. I know that some of them are here this evening, and so as I call you, if you would come up if you're here, so that we can recognize you. The first is First National Bank. First National Bank has actually adopted 2 of our campuses, Bastrop High School and Mina Elementary School, and I know Alex is here. He just asked that I not make him speak, so I'm not going to make him speak. Next is Ally Medical. Ally Medical now for the 3rd year has adopted Lost Pines Elementary School. And so Susan is, I believe, here. And Susan, I think for the 2nd year, has sponsored their annual back-to-school bowling party for their staff. And so I know they really enjoy that and appreciate all that you do for them. Thank you. We also have here tonight the Rotary Club of Bastrop County. They are near and dear to my heart because I'm part of the Rotary Club. And this is their first foray into Adopt a School. They have adopted Emile Elementary, and they've hit the ground running. They supplied snacks for their teacher lounge. They, I know, have been cooking turkey and ham for the Thanksgiving feast tomorrow, and I'm just so proud of everything that they've been doing. All right, thank you very much. Also, we have Equitable Advisors. They have adopted Bluebonnet Elementary and Bastrop Middle School this year. I don't think they're here this evening. David Weekly Homes has adopted Colony Oaks Elementary, and MRC Metal Recycling has adopted Cedar Creek Elementary. And finally, last but not least, I have A+ Federal Credit Union. Mr. Eric Farley, I know, is here, and he has adopted Bastrop, they have adopted Bastrop Intermediate School. And so please join me in thanking all of these Adopt a School partners. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino. At this time, we'll move into our open forum. The board encourages comments from citizens of the district or district employees. Anyone that has signed up and wishes to speak, either as an individual or a representative of a group, may do so at this time. The board asks that the comments pertain to public education. Our speaker here tonight is Tony Malone. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. Hi, Saray. It's one of my first graders. On April 18th of this year, this board heard from parents, teachers, and other concerned stakeholders about the need to keep our MTSS behavior support on our elementary campuses. We stress to you that removing this vital safety net would be cutting the arms of our administrator, putting our teachers at physical and mental risk, and sending our students down a troubled road that may be difficult, if not impossible, to reverse. I am here today because these predictions are coming true. On Friday, November 15th, I was assaulted in my classroom, requiring a trip to urgent care. This student is screaming for help. Help right now can only come in the form of a reactive Band-Aid. Because this board's decision, my student has virtually no proactive behavior support. Who's supposed to teach this child the social skills that he needs to survive in this world? My injury is not just the result of an angry child needing support. It is the result of this board turning a blind eye to the needs of our students, our staff, and our administrators. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Malone. All right, this time we'll move in, that will conclude our open forum. At this time, we'll move into our public hearing on the 2024 School Finance and Integrity Rating System of Texas. First, rating based on 2022 and 2023 data. Renee Wingard, our Director of Finance, is our presenter here tonight. Welcome.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, President, Superintendent, and Board of Trustees. This evening, I will be presenting the results of our 21st Annual School First Report. For ease of delivery, I've broken down the agenda into 3 sections. So first, I'd like to provide a brief overview of what School First is. Then we'll take a look at Bastrop ISD's results, and finally, we'll review the disclosures that are required by the Texas Education Agency. School First is essentially a report card of the district's financial condition. FIRST is an acronym for Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas. It was first developed by TEA in 1999 and then put into action in 2002. The report always lags a year behind, so the information that I'm presenting this evening is from the 22-23 fiscal year. As I previously mentioned, we're in our 21st year of School First reporting, and I'm happy to report that we have received the highest rating for all consecutive years, with the exception of 1 year. There are 21 indicators for the 22-23 year that can be broke down into 3 categories that measure critical financial components, financial solvency, and financial competency. The indicators are rated differently, where questions 1 through 5 are just a yes or no, no points assigned for yes, but you can lose points if it is a no. Questions 6 through 21 are worth 5 to 10 points each, for a maximum score of 100 points. The scoring rubric then determines the letter grade that is assigned to the district, giving it a letter grade A through F. According to the School First regulations, the district is required to have a public hearing each year within 60 days of TEA releasing the final report. As well, we have to prepare and distribute an annual financial management report. This can be found on the BISD website under Business Office and Finance in the section named Financial Accountability, and I also have copies here if anyone is interested in reviewing it. Okay, so let's take a look at the results. We are required to present results on all 21 indicators but tonight I'll be highlighting just a few of these in all three of the categories. So beginning with the critical indicators, questions 1 and 2 are asking about our annual external audit to ensure that the annual financial report was submitted to TEA on time, and asking if we received a clean audit with no instances of material weakness in internal controls. Indicator number 3 refers to debt payment to ensure that we did not default on any of our debt. Number 4 confirms timely payments to other government agencies. And number 5 is looking at the statement of net position. This indicator had not been included in prior years, but was included again this year. And since we have a positive net position, we have been indicated here with a passed status. Moving on to indicator 7, this is a solvency indicator that measures how many days after the end of the fiscal year the school district could have dispersed funds for its operating expenditures without receiving any new revenues. It's a cash on hand question in all reality. In order to receive the maximum points, you must have at least 90 days on hand. Last year, we were at 77 days and scored an 8, and as you can see this year, we've received all 10 points for having a minimum of 90 days. Indicator number 12 asks about the school district's ability to make debt principal and interest payments. Essentially, what is the correlation between future debt requirements and the district's assessed property value? Last year, we received an 8 in this category for being the range of 4 through 7. This year, we received all of the points with the range being less than or equal to 4. Indicator number 13, still under financial solvency, is taking a look at the percentage of budget spent at the central administration level. A perfect score is less than 8.55%, and we scored at 5.9%, indicating our conservative nature at the administrative level. We do spend a lot less in this category comparative to other districts. The last 6 questions are related to competency measures. Indicator number 16, questioning the accuracy of our PEMS data submission versus what we reported in our annual financial report. The allowable variance is less than 3%, and our variance was once again 0. Question 18 refers back to the annual financial report, looking for instances of material noncompliance of laws, rules, and regulations related to the expenditure of grant funds, contracts, and other state and federal funds. Indicator number 20 ensures the board was presented property values within 120 days prior to adopting the budget. And lastly, indicator 21 is new. This indicator determines if the district has an adjusted repayment schedule for an overallocation of foundation school program funds. We did not, so we passed this indicator. But I am proud to say that Bastrop ISD this year received 100 out of 100 possible points. So moving into our last section, which are the disclosure requirements. The district does need to disclose any gifts received from vendors over $250 and business transactions that the board member or superintendent may have engaged in with the district. There have been no gifts and no business transactions. Additionally, we must provide information pertaining to the superintendent's income. A copy of the superintendent's contract is available on our website under the annual financial management report. There was no additional income received in the 22-23 year other than through Bastrop ISD. Finally, we are required to show reimbursements by board members and the superintendent. There were very few expenditures in 22-23, all which were related to registration and other travel-related expenses for summer leadership and some additional training to meet statutory board training requirements. This last slide concludes the presentation. Here you see that Bastrop ISD received a perfect score and a superior achievement rating and a letter grade of A. Thank you. Does the board have any questions? Okay.
What does this having a superior rating, what does it tell the public? I mean, right now it's just a bunch of numbers. I mean, I'm getting it, but what does it tell the public?
So it's essentially a report card of our financial standing and our transparency of how we spend our money, and to ensure we're not top-heavy or spending too much at the board level or superintendent level or administrative level, and that the funds are going essentially where they're supposed to be going.
And does this, the, excuse me, the questions and the indicators, did that mirror or somehow relate back to the audit?
It essentially can, but it's also from a budgetary perspective of how we choose to spend our money and where we say we're going to put our money.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the board? All right, at this time, I will open the floor for public comments regarding this presentation. Please note that during the hearing or open forums, the board purpose is to gather input. The board will not respond to questions or engage in two-way dialogue. However, we will have administrative response to your questions. Are there any comments from the public? All right, if there are not any comments, this will conclude our public hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving along to our superintendent's report, academic report, bilingual and ESL program update. Patricia Flores, our director of multilingual programs. Welcome.
Good evening. I was going to say good afternoon, but it's good evening, members of the board and Mr. Edwards. It's my pleasure to be with you this evening to be able to share the multilingual annual report for the 23-24 school year. Students who are in our bilingual and ESL programs are identified as emergent bilingual. And these are students who are continuing to develop their home language while learning an additional language. Now, the shift in terminology was made in 2021, and we do this with the intent to be able to honor the linguistic journey of our students and being able to maintain both heritage language while learning an additional language. Our EB population continues to grow in our district. You'll notice here from 23-24 year, there were a little over, almost 6,000 students that were identified as emergent bilingual, and this year we do have over 6,000. This number was taken about 2 weeks ago, so that gives us about a 400 student increase from where we ended the school year last year to where we are this year. State assessment data for emergent bilingual students held steady from last year to this year. You can see that the scores for EB students were going to mirror those of our monolingual students with respect to minimal regression across all three of the performance levels for students district-wide. TELPAS data. TELPAS is the state assessment that's given to all identified emergent bilingual students that will assess their English proficiency growth across all 4 language domains, and we administer this assessment to students every spring. So from 22-23 to 23-24, 80% of our students maintained or either made growth, which is a huge jump for us, which is wonderful for us to be able to see our students developing in their English linguistic proficiency that way. Over 200 students last year met the reclassification criteria, meaning that they met the criteria in order to no longer be classified as an emergent bilingual student. So keep in mind that in 2021, only 7 students met that reclassification criteria. So to be able to say that we had over 200 students this past year is a remarkable feat for us. Now, I also want you to think about those students and their STAR performance. So we had over 200 that reclassified, and when you look at those students and we think about what it means to be able to reclassify, 60 of those over 200 students met the approaches level on STAR, 113 were at MEETS, and 24 were at Masters. And as a district, I know our goal is for our students to be at MEETS and at Masters, so you can see that of those students that we were able to reclassify, we exceeded that by over 50%, more than that. It was just great for us to be able to have that data. We also use a tool, a resource in our district called Summit K-12, which is a resource that we use for our emergent bilingual students to help prepare them for the TELPAS assessment. So from our pre-test, which we give in the fall, to the interim, which we gave in late October, 78% of our campuses have made growth, meaning that they have increased, their students have increased in their English proficiency levels, and 14% of our campuses moved an entire proficiency level. Keeping in mind that the goal for the state is that students move up 1 proficiency level from the previous year to the current school year. So I think this is hopefully letting you know that we are on that trajectory and moving in that direction. Another piece of data that we look at is the assessments that we give to our students in elementary at the beginning of the school year. So what you have here is Amplify IMClass, which is the English assessment, and the Amplify Lectura, which is the Spanish assessment. So you can see with the IMClass, which was given to all students in grades kindergarten through second, 36% of those students are at or above in English. For our IMClass Lectura, which is only given to our emergent bilingual students or students in the dual language classroom, those students in kindergarten through second are performing at 61% at or above the Spanish. And the two assessments, I put the categories of the assessments there for you, are identical. So you can see that the students in our dual language program are outperforming our monolingual students at this point. And keeping that in mind and thinking about how students in dual language classrooms are doing, our goal for our district is to be able to consider the biliteracy trajectory that our students in dual language classrooms are on. A biliteracy trajectory allows us to take into consideration both English and Spanish, and to be able to make some considerations, take those two different proficiency levels into consideration when we think about the linguistic journey that a student is on with respect to their literacy development. Now, keeping in mind that last year was the very first year that we implemented our dual language one-way program, you can see that our students in kindergarten performed exactly how we would expect them to. Kindergarten students assessed this year their Spanish as, again, they're outperforming our monolingual students. Almost at 80% of them are scoring at meets or at masters in their Spanish, and you see the English there is coming along. Now look at students in first grade, who this would have been, they would have had all of last year in DL, now they're in their second year. You can see there where the Spanish is, we have a little slight minimal regression there, but you can see how much the English has also increased in proficiency. And this is the first year for our students to have dual language instruction in second grade. So our goal is to continue to be able to track this data, to be able to make, to look at it holistically for our students, being able to see where their strengths lie, and being able to make determinations about what we should do for them with concerning their literacy journey. We are also required to report out the exceptions and waivers for our district. Exceptions and waivers are things that we apply for with the state agency when we do not have enough bilingual or ESL certified teachers to be able to serve in our classrooms. So we had 78 bilingual exceptions for this year. Last year we had 81, so we had a few less that we reported, which is great. We had 12 ESL waivers this year and 11 ESL waivers last year. So when you think about, yes, as our emergent bilingual numbers increase, to think that we had less exceptions this year is really wonderful, because as you can see here, we added 10 teachers to our district this year. So I remember when I visited with Mr. Edwards about the dual language program, and I said, if you build it, they will come. And they are coming because they like our program, they are very impressed with our program, and we are drawing teachers to our district. So you can see here from 22-23 all the way to this year, we had 44 teachers in the 22-23 school year, and we are now at 51. We have 27 teachers in our district who are working on their certifications. Keep in mind, many of these teachers are actually implementing our program. God bless them, because they don't receive a stipend right now. So they are doing it for the sheer love of being able to instruct in dual language classrooms. As I mentioned, we have 10 teachers that are new to our district. We were very fortunate that 4 of our teachers received their permits and their intern certificates. The agency considers those teachers appropriately certified, so we were able to add those to our roster. And we also started the 50-50 teacher partnerships at second grade this year in our dual language programs, and we have that at 6 of our 8 campuses. This gives you an idea, it's kind of a synopsis of the professional development that we were able to provide to our teachers and staff last year. So everything from elementary instructional rounds where we worked with school leadership to be able to help them in the implementation of their dual language programs, all the way down to registrars, ESL academies to help our teachers get ready for that ESL certification. As far as parental and community activities, last year we had our 2nd annual Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. We provide state assessment information evenings to our parents, early college, high school information sessions, literacy activities, and then partnerships also with our community, such as community action for the ESL and GED classes. These next couple of slides are a little bit of the celebrations that I'd like to kind of brag on. I'm a little bit proud of our program. So one of the things that we did launch last year was our ESL framework. And this is really important for us because it gives us the structure, almost if you want to say the legs to stand on with our ESL programming in our students. We didn't have this before. So to be able to draw together some key stakeholders and design this framework for the ESL services that we provide for our students was a monumental feat for us, and I was so happy that we were able to accomplish that last year. We also started to have teachers presenting at local conferences. This is the Adelante Conference, which is the Austin area conference for bilingual teachers. We had never done that before. Again, dual language, and we're able to get our oracy units out, which are combined with our amplified curriculum. Had very, very well received. And because of that, we have started to get some attention from TEA, and so we actually did have a site visit from the agency last year, wanting to look at our programs and be able to ask questions about how we prepared our classrooms and our teachers to be able to implement dual language using the curriculum that we currently have. Because of that, we have also been able to host other districts in our that have come to the district who want to know more about how we're doing dual language with the Amplify curriculum. Our newcomer work is actually being highlighted in the second edition of the Boosting Achievement book, which is actually put out by Silas Education. This will go out statewide, and so we actually have a page in it where our work with our newcomers is being highlighted. As for this current year, our district goals, you can see them there. I've highlighted in a yellow for you the ones that we really want to pay attention to or do with more intentionality. As I said, continue to create those oracy units using our Amplify, and this year adding Eureka, so being able to get into math, and then also continuing to work on our biliteracy trajectory for our students in dual language classrooms, and get the plans ready for a third grade dual language rollout next year, because that will be the grade that we will add to the dual language program. Okay, thank you very much, and do you have any questions?
Any questions from the board?
I've got a couple of them. So let's just, back when you were talking about the emergent bilingual population, what language, I'm assuming it's mostly Spanish? But
Yes, Spanish is our primary language. However, we do have about 18 other languages that are spoken in the district.
How do you deal with those?
ESL.
I mean,
ESL programming.
Do they go through the same program?
It's ESL. It's English as a second language. It's not a bilingual program.
Okay, so the bilingual is just
Spanish.
Spanish?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay. And what are they usually tested? Are they tested, when you're saying the English and the Spanish, are they, the children, the students tested in Spanish and then also in English?
Yes, ma'am. The dual language students will always be tested in both English and Spanish. Right now, it is only for literacy because we do paired literacy, and so that is the assessment that we use. The others are in the language of instruction.
Okay. And what's the difference between this asking for an exception to a waiver?
Exception is for a bilingual classroom. When we do not have a certified bilingual teacher, we will ask the state for an exception, which is granted only for 1 year. An ESL waiver is when we don't have an appropriately ESL certified teacher. We ask for a waiver, which is also only good for 1 year.
Okay. Are we going to be asking for, I mean, given the certificate bilingual teaching staff, you're at 51, it looks like, are we going to be asking for exception or waiver come November again?
Yes.
Okay, do you know approximately this, how many do we need?
Well,
I know it all depends, but.
Right, but you can see, I can't remember what slide that was on. I think we filed for 71.
Right.
Which means we needed 71 teachers.
So you're roughly short now about 19. 'Cause
No,
you're saying
no,
there's
we
51.
have 55 teachers who are working in classrooms. We needed an additional 71 teachers.
Oh.
So when you think
You're still
about,
needing that.
yes, yes, ma'am, yes, it's a lot. Which is why the state allows you to do the 50-50 partnership, which we started in second grade. So you partner a certified bilingual teacher with a certified ESL teacher, which allows us to provide instruction to 40 emergent bilingual children only under one bilingual teacher, but we pair her with an ESL teacher. That will help reduce the number of teachers that we need and provide bilingual instruction to more children.
To more children. And what grade? I mean, I'm seeing pre-K, K up to maybe third grade.
Our dual
What
language,
happens after that?
the goal for us is the dual language program will go up through fifth grade, and then depending on what it is, we might potentially roll it up to middle school and then high school. Austin ISD has very successful dual language programs at their high school level.
What happens to students if they do come in 7th, 8th grade and they do not know English?
That they would be considered a newcomer, and so we do, that's what I was
That's
saying,
the
we have
program.
newcomer services for those students, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Oh, sorry, thank you. When we don't have teachers to cover classrooms, when you're partnering them, do we then have enough teachers? And if not, what do we do?
So we file for an exception for the state, and we report to the state that we don't have enough certified teachers. The state will allow us to run alternative programs to that. And so this is what I mentioned, like we have those 27 or 25 teachers who are seeking certification. They actually, we can run them as an alternative program using Spanish, and they are, like I said, they are implementing the dual language program. So that is an alternative program. They are not coded as such in PEIMS because we don't have a certified teacher, but we are telling the state that we are providing dual language instruction. So when you add those 27 to the 55, that's how many rooms we have right now, but we still need, but the 27 are still part of the 71, if that makes sense.
It does?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that's why the professional development is so important for our teachers, because they need to be able to understand, if they're not certified, how to be able to support emergent bilingual students in the capacity that they are.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Yes, ma'am.
What's the negative impact if we continue to ask for exceptions or waivers? I mean, what will the state do if we don't have the teachers?
Potentially, the state, they cannot grant you an exception. They cannot approve your application. But we do, what the state asks us to do is develop a comprehensive professional development plan to be able to address, and there are certain pieces of it. It's not just PD for teachers. I work very closely with HR, and we're able to report out what we're doing with respect to being able to recruit teachers. We use the 10% of our allotment, our bilingual education allotment, to be able to get teachers certified. So like we offer online courses for them to support them. There are a variety of different ways that we are going to meet that, and we have to make a very comprehensive report that we will submit to the state to let them know what our plans and intentions are. Based on that, the state is going to look at it and say Bastrop ISD is making every effort to be able to recruit teachers and retain teachers. Part of why we have such a healthy stipend as well is we're able to recruit and keep our teachers. They know we're making the efforts. Part of it is keeping up with the population. And that I will say is not new, and it's not particular just to Bastrop ISD. That's happening across the state. There's a shortage of teachers, but even more of a shortage of bilingual teachers. Yeah, of course.
All right, any other questions from Ms. Flores? Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, moving along to our EB3 Board Goals and Plans Update. Dr. Amanda Brantley, our Director of CCMR, and Jennifer Eberly, our Chief Academic Officer. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Edwards and members of the board. Thank you for allowing us to present to you this evening. I think this is your slide.
We're here to go through our HB3 goals that cover all of CCMR, as well as our foundational literacy and math, grounded in the mission and vision that we have in BISD.
All right, so the first up is college, career, and military readiness, and I just want to give a quick refresher of what that means as defined by TEA. So there are 3 ways that a student can meet the CCMR indicator. The first is being college ready. They can score a 3 or higher on an advanced placement exam. They can meet the Texas Success Initiative criteria, which is a college-ready score on their SAT, ACT, or TSIA exam, or they can complete a college preparation course, and we have a couple different ways that they can do that, in both reading and mathematics. They can complete a dual course credit, 3 hours in either English or math, or 9 hours in any other subject area. They can earn their associate's degree, as our students at Circa do, or they could complete an on-ramps course in any subject and earn college credit. On-ramps is a newer to the district initiative. We had statistics last year. We've implemented in more math and science classes, just science this year. So we do have an opportunity for students to meet college ready in a number of ways. For Career Ready, they can earn an industry-based certification as outlined on the list that's approved by TEA and aligned to a program of study in CTE. To meet this, they have to do both the industry-based certification and complete that 4-year course of study. They can graduate with an IEP with workforce readiness, earn a level 1 or level 2 certificate from a community college, or they can graduate under an advanced degree plan as a special education student. Military Ready came back to us at the end of last school year, and that allowed students to fully enlist in the military. They submit a DD4 form to us. We submit that to TEA as proof that they have enlisted. That was taken off of the indicator for a couple of years. On this table, we've got each of those ways that our students are meeting the CCMR indicator. We have where we wound up for the class of 2024 in that second column. We have where we sat as of last Monday with our current seniors, and then we have what our goal is for 2025. You'll notice there's a pretty large difference between the class of 2024 and where we currently sit for that college ready score. If you'll remember on the previous slide, I mentioned that could be through one of those college preparation courses, and we have a number of students completing that right now. So that number will rapidly increase both at the semester and at the end of the school year. So right now we are on track to meet those class of 2025 goals. We've been holding at 4% with our associate's degree for several years. Our Circa seniors are about 4% of our senior population. And I absolutely believe that we will meet that 80% goal of students meeting any indicator. So our plan to get there holds true as it has the last few years. We're tailoring what students do based on their goals as they graduate. So we will talk to the kids, determine, what is it that you want to do? Are we looking at TSI? Are we looking at dual credit? Are we looking at workforce readiness? We have solid college and career staff at all 3 of our high school campuses that help our students through those things. We go on college visits. We have dual credit courses. We have on-ramps courses. We have the opportunity for students to participate in those CTE programs with the aligned industry-based certification.
The other side of HB3 is our early literacy and math proficiency, remembering that long-term starts with building the foundation in our youngest grades. Looking at that, starting with pre-K. In pre-K, we did the Circle CLI screener 3 times a year, looking at math and reading proficiency. On the chart, you see where we started off at the beginning of the year last year, as compared where we're starting off at the beginning of the year this year, and what our goal is towards the end. Every year, we're seeing an uptick in where we are starting and where we are ending with our earliest learners in our schools. We also look at K through 3, our reading goals. Just like with our CLI screener, K through 3 reading is assessed using the M-Class assessment, which is directly aligned to our Tier 1 instructional curriculum. With that, students are assessed 3 times a year in foundational reading, so looking at the phonemic awareness, decoding, sight reading, as well as their fluency. And so on this chart, just as in the other one, you see our beginning of the year scores from last year compared to our beginning of the year scores this year, and looking at what our goal is at the end. And if you'll notice, we are seeing an increase in our youngest grades and our students moving to be proficient readers. This is a direct impact of the foundational skills, as well as the early interventions, the instructional strategies, and the curricular alignment that we've been working to put in place. In math, we use the MAP assessment to judge math proficiency. This is still a new assessment to us. Last year was the first year that we implemented this. If you look again, the chart is set up with the beginning of the year proficiency scores compared to the beginning of the year proficiency scores this year to our goal. And again, just as we're seeing in reading, we are seeing movement in these proficiency and math standards. This assessment also looks at those foundational skills, including number sense, operations, and problem solving. So then the strategies we started well over a year ago are grounded in our math and literacy frameworks. That's where we put all of our instructional focus. Some of our strategies, including continue to train our teachers on the research-based instructional strategies so that we have those consistent instructional pieces that are grounded in research that we've all been trained on. Continuing to implement our high-quality instructional materials that focus on those foundational skills in reading and math that students need to be successful. As well as continuing to help our teachers who went through hours of the Texas Reading Academies to implement those strategies to make sure we have the skillful implementation of foundational reading, as well as continuing to grow our understanding of utilizing our math and literacy screener data to not only to gain diagnostic information, but help us real-time make adjustments in the intervention and the Tier 1 instruction we're providing for our students. And then our last thing is continue to implement and make adjustments to our professional learning plan that's differentiated for our teachers. So making sure that we're providing avenues for both our teachers who are new to the profession as well as our veteran teachers to continue to help them meet the needs of the students that are in front of them. And as we continue to use these strategies, we're going to be able to strengthen and meet the immediate needs of our students in order to grow our proficiency in reading and math at the youngest grades. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
I do actually have a couple questions. Amanda, I just have one quick one for you. On the completion of an on-ramps course, you said that was relatively new, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so that's why we don't see it in the chart as far as. Okay.
Correct.
Got it.
Yes, last year was our first year.
And then the types of courses you said that would be offered with on-ramps to any subject and earn college credit, what do you think those would be?
Oh, so any subject, so what we have there is our automotive technology is our highest. Our students complete almost 18 hours there. We also have manufacturing at Cedar Creek High School, and then we have health science pharmacy technician.
Okay. Gotcha.
So any of our workforce classes, or if they were taking, we've got history, we have a number of other dual credit sociology, psychology that they could participate in.
Okay, cool. And then the other question is for Jennifer, and it's in the strategies section. So number 5 says utilizing a math and literacy screener. How often does that data come to principals and you guys? And then the second part of the question is, when do you determine when an additional coach is needed at that campus? So like a literacy coach or a reading coach?
So to answer, that data comes in 3 times a year, and it's dynamic. You get it right instantly after a student takes the assessment. There's also progress monitoring pieces that can be done in there, but for sure we do it in August, in January, right after we come back in at the end of the year, so we have the 3 solid data points to be able to make adjustments and look at where we're at with the screener.
Okay.
And then with the instructional coach, really we look at, we're continuing to build up our instructional coaches, and then we also have outside partners with the new teacher project that come in and help us continue to look at our data and to continue to move instruction forward too.
Okay. And I know, I mean, part of the frustration that I had with all the budget cuts was not only the gifted and talented program, but also the literacy coaches that we had. We had several coaches who were on campuses doing that, that extra, going that extra mile with the students. And so are those instructional coaches you're talking about at the district level and they just get farmed out now, or?
We have, so at all of our campuses, we have a math and a literacy coach that are assigned to that campus.
Okay.
We do work together and partner with them through meetings every other Friday to make sure that they have the training and support that they're needed. But we do have 2 that are assigned to every campus, that they're there day in, day out to help, and they know the campus, they know the teachers, they're able to provide that coaching and that one-on-one support or group support that may be needed.
Okay, so you're saying they're working with teachers, not necessarily the students, right?
The instructional coaches are working with the teachers, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we have, if you're talking interventionists, we do have interventionists that work with the students to help provide another layer of support for them.
And that's the RTI?
Yes, yes.
And how many of those roughly are at a campus?
Oh, it depends on the campus. We could have anywhere, it's from about 4 to 5, maybe 6 on a campus, and it can range from paraprofessionals to teachers that are working with students and continuing to move these forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the board? Just right quick, Dr. Brantley, we just passed a EMS ESD here, and I know there's a shortage of EMTs, and I know that ACC has programs for that. Any type of possible looking into that of some prep classes. I believe you can take that test basically at 18, but just helping them with getting to that point, because we have a pretty good need here in Bastrop County.
Yeah, there absolutely is potential for that. As ACC continues to add programs, we're always in conversation with them on what we might be able to add to campuses. We actually ran a prep course 2 or 3 years ago at Cedar Creek High School and had a small number of students interested, so I think that interest may still be there.
That's awesome. I know we had a good turnout. We always have needs for training for CPR and first aid and different things like that, so we're a big district, so yeah, continue to look into that, please.
Sure.
All right, thank y'all very much. All right, moving along to our financial report. We have 2023, 2024 annual audit report, and also consider approval of the annual audit report. And our presenter is Addison Ebarb. I believe, is that with Whitley Penn, or is that?
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. Yes. Good evening. Yes, I'm Addison Ebarb from Whitley Penn. I was the senior manager on the engagement this year, so played a big part with Renee and her team in performing the audit. So appreciate you having me here this evening to present. All right, so we'll go over a few slides first, just to explain the process of the audit, and then we'll go into the actual numbers as a result of the financial statement audit this year, as well as the federal single audit over those those federal programs. So for the audit process, we start off with the planning stage, really just a lot of phone calls, looking at budgets, preliminary numbers, kind of starting to do some estimates and documenting of key controls over key audit areas, riskier audit areas. Then we move into that second stage where it's really a deeper dive into understanding and identifying key controls over significant audit areas, and especially those riskier audit areas. So then that takes us to kind of the third step there, and that's testing internal controls and testing internal controls over compliance. So those riskier areas and those significant audit areas, we will perform some tests over internal controls. And then in the single audit, we do perform tests over all the controls related to those programs that we consider major for the current year. Then the fourth step is substantive testing. This is kind of the detailed testing that most people typically think of, tying out to support, running different estimates and looking at figures in that way so that we can prepare those financial statements, which gets us to number 5, and today issuing the opinion and the audit report. So the purpose of the audit, the opinion on the report, as I mentioned, there's 3 levels here. You start with a disclaimer, which is the most adverse opinion, the opinion that really no one wants. The qualification is your next level. It's typically a modification due to a scope limitation or a departure from accounting principles. And then you go to the unmodified opinion, or what's generally thought of as the clean opinion. And that's typically what most people want on their audited financial statements. So for Bastrop ISD this year, the auditor's report on the financial statements did receive that unmodified or clean opinion, and the audit was conducted in accordance with both generally accepted auditing standards and the government auditing standards, so both GAS and GAGAS there. And then we also issued an auditor's report on internal control and compliance. In that report, we identified no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, and no instances of non-compliance that were material to the financial statements were noted either. For the federal single audit report, we tested a few major programs this year. Those will kind of rotate depending on the size and just on a rotational basis from year to year. This year we tested the special education cluster and the elementary and secondary school emergency relief, or ESSER funds. It's kind of last of those COVID fundings coming in. Each of those programs received an unmodified opinion on compliance, and no internal control findings related to each of these major programs individually. Also, no instances of noncompliance or question costs were noted for either of those programs. So then we'll move into the government-wide statement of net position. This is going to include all of your long-term assets and your long-term liabilities. So your total assets this year and deferred outflows made up of $731.6 million. Main components of that are going to be cash and investments, $367.2 million, and capital assets, net of depreciation of $280.3 million there. So then the total liabilities and deferred inflows of $662.5 million, mostly made up of bonds payable, $528.8 million. And then the other significant components there are your net pension liability and your net other post-employment benefits, or OPEB liability. Do just want to point out that that's the district's portion of the TRS retirement system. It's not a cash liability to the district, just represents their portion calculated by the TRS and their auditors there, which then leaves the district this year with a net position ending at $69.1 million. So then to dive in a little bit to the general fund revenues, a little bit dark, let me get to my slide here. All right, so the green section there, and I apologize, it's a little dark on the screen, but hopefully it's a little bit better on your deal there. So the green 53%, or $70.6 million, that's your state aids, that's your TEA funding. Then the next biggest portion in the yellow there, $52.3 million, or 39%, that's your property taxes. So that's also always going to be a significant portion. Then you move into your other smaller portions of state funding, or state grants, and then other local funding and federal grants. And you can see down there at the bottom as well, your total revenues did increase over last year as you continue. Property taxes or values continue to go up, and TEAs coming into more money as well. Then to look at the overall general fund expenditures, you can see the major piece there, 59%, or $75.4 million, instruction and related services, which relates to, or is in line with most districts in the state. The next significant portion, 15%, or $18.7 million, student support services. And then 10% facilities, maintenance, and operations. And then as you can see, they dwindle down from there. You can also see on the bottom of the screen there that comparison. Expenses continue to go up as inflation and overall market increases across the board. Then just to break down the budget and general fund, or budget and actual in the general fund. The actual revenues of $133.4 million came in above budgeted revenues by $4.7 million, which is positive. And actual expenditures of $128.4 million came under budget by $0.3 million. So again, positive there. So overall change there of $6.7 million fund balance increase in the general fund. And the components making up the fund balance there of $42.8 million at the end of FY24 are your non-spendable. It's just related to your prepaids of $0.1 million. And then your committed fund balance, $2.6 million. and assigned fund balance 11.1 and unassigned of 29. Your committed is going to be for your construction projects already ongoing. Your assigned balance is going to be for your economic development and just future growth. Then here's a chart showing the unassigned fund balance as a percentage of the expenditures in the general fund. It's a factor that TEA looks at, and you can see you've kind of stayed in line and really increased a little bit over the years. TEA likes you to be around 20 to 30%, so you can see this year at 23.7%, you're right in line with where they're wanting you. Then to go over the budget and actual comparisons of the breakfast and lunch program as well as the debt service fund. The actual revenues for breakfast and lunch program were at $9 million. These were less than budget by 0.8, but it's always just kind of estimating depending on your attendance and meals purchased and sold. Actual expenditures of $9.2 million came under budget by 0.6 million, also probably related to that decrease in revenue. Then fund balance decreased by 0.2 million, so not a significant change there with the ending fund balance of 4.6 million. Then looking at the debt service fund, actual revenues were 34.4 million, so greater than budget by 3.6 million, positive there. And actual expenditures of 26.8 million came in 4 million under budget there. So the overall fund balance for the debt service fund increased by 7.7 million, totaling 25.9 million at the end of the year. Then a few required communications from us to the board. First, we did look over the district's accounting policies and methods and determined that they were appropriate and in accordance with industry standards there. We did identify a few accounting estimates, being state aid and allowances for uncollectible taxes receivable, and we did not find any issues or any concerns related to significant accounting estimates. We just have to communicate those to you guys, but we concluded that management has a reasonable basis for each of those significant judgments and the estimates that impact the financial statements there. Some more required communications. We encountered no difficulties in dealing with management and performing and completing our audit, and had no material misstatements that were identified by us that required management's correction. Also, we did identify a few significant risks, but these were not specific to Bastrop ISD. These are risks that we identify across all our entities, and that's going to be management override of internal control, just the chance that management could override those controls that you have in place, and then improper revenue recognition, just with the TEA reporting, since so much goes into that reporting that then is a factor of the funding. We have that risk there, but we did review both of those very, very thoroughly and had no issues with either of those significant risks identified. And again, those were not specific to Bastrop. Those are to all of our entities that we audit. Also, we had no disagreements with management over the application of accounting principles or management's judgments on those accounting estimates that I mentioned on the previous slide. Then we did have to get a few management representations as required communications as well. We requested those from management and received those. We're not aware of any situations in which management consulted with other accountants on accounting or financial reporting matters. In other words, they didn't feel, or we are not aware that they went out for a second opinion on anything that we were giving an opinion on. And we also discussed the application of accounting principles and auditing standards. However, our responses were not a condition to our retention. And before I take any questions, do want to thank Renee and her team for just a great audit and all their work in getting us here today. So any questions on any of the presentation today?
I have a question.
Of course.
And it kind of just relates. I don't want the public to be under a misunderstanding about something I think that you said regarding our property taxes.
Yes.
Property tax revenue increased for us. what we received did not increase. It actually decreased
True.
quite a bit.
True, yes.
And our state revenue did increase. So even though our county's growing and we have more, roofs on the ground that are being taxed, and there are more revenues coming in, the school district itself does not receive those additional funds under the property tax system.
Right.
And overall, does the audit suggest the district is using its financial and physical resources efficiently and effectively?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? All right, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming out.
Thank you.
All right,
Good
this
evening.
time I will entertain a motion.
Audit as presented.
A motion is second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving along to our facilities and operations report. We have the fall 2024 demographics update, as well as the 2025-2026 attendance boundaries for elementary and middle schools. And Dr. Lee will start us off this evening with our introduction. Dr. Lee.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to do this. Thank you, Board and Mr. Edwards. So essentially, our demographics are presented to you and to us twice a year in the fall and the spring. So this is our fall report. Our demographers, which is Zonda Education, they use multiple sources of data to put together and compile this report for us, including working with our local partners like the city and the county, the Economic Development Corporation. And then we turn around and we use this data to help us plan for staffing, for programming, and of course for our facilities. Now, related to attendance boundaries, right now the current boundaries are drawn for 8 elementary schools and 2 middle schools. The new boundaries will factor in the 9th elementary school, which is currently under construction, that will open in the fall. The new boundaries will also factor in the 2 additional middle schools, the ones that are currently intermediate schools. We held multiple meetings, BISD leadership, campus leadership, with Zonda in the early fall to consider the current boundaries and future attendance boundaries and to create the draft that you're going to see tonight. So our goal in creating these new boundaries was to balance our student population to the extent that we could, to minimize neighborhood disruption, and to, of course, factor in transportation routes and needs. So these new boundaries will take effect in the fall of 2025. So after tonight, sometime tomorrow, we will make tonight's boundary presentation available on our website. And in addition, on December 9th and December 10th, we will host 2 in-person town hall meetings at Bastrop Middle School and Cedar Creek Middle School. We will have large maps available where the public can come and see the maps up close and personal. We will give them the boundary presentation, answer their questions, and help them to feel comfortable with the new boundaries. And then we will bring this back to you in January for your actual approval following that public input and consideration. So tonight, we were to have Rocky Gardner with Zonda Education, but we got the A-team instead, and Bob Templeton is with us, and he is going to present our, first the demographics report, and then our boundaries. Thank you, Bob.
Well, thank you. I don't know about the A-team, but I'm definitely on the team, and I've been working in demographics and planning for well over 25 years. And I've had some time working with the Bastrop data. It was a couple of years ago, so I'm very familiar with the data. I visited with Rocky at length, primarily about the attendance zone piece. So tonight, I'm going to go through our demographic update, and then I'll go through the attendance zone slides. I'll start kind of big picture talking about the economic conditions. We'd like to use the unemployment rate because it really gives us a sense for how much of the workforce is employed, and when you're at 4%, you're basically fully employed. In fact, the Austin region continues to add the most jobs of any of the major regions in Texas. In fact, we're still in the infancy of the tech jobs that are growing to your neighbors. You know, what's happening at Tesla, what's about to happen with the Samsung plant. The Samsung plant's a little bit delayed on operations, but still, within the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to see thousands and thousands of additional jobs coming to both the Tesla plant and to the Samsung plant. But the unemployment rate for the Austin region, one of the lowest unemployment rates in the major cities in Texas, right at that 3.4% in the Austin Round Rock MSA. And again, I touched on the Tesla plant already, but just to kind of give you some scale, currently they're at about 22,000 employees working in that Tesla plant, and when in a few years, that number could get closer to 60,000 employees. They've got about a 5 million square foot addition that's about to go on. You can see it when you drive by it. It's like a constant under construction. Even though they've been operational for a couple of years, there's already significant additional square footage being added to that region. To kind of give you the big picture on the housing market across the country, Texas has 4 of the top producing cities in the country for new single-family homes. Dallas in the #1 spot, Houston #2, but Austin's in the 6th spot in the country, building about 16,600 homes annualized. That's the annualized single-family construction. Now, we have seen a little bit of a roller coaster ride in terms of new home construction in the Austin region. You can see the dramatic acceleration actually started in 2019 when new housing started because of the tech growth that was already happening. And then that roller coaster took a very dramatic drop when the Fed started raising the interest rates. That's what really led to that big drop. And that happened in all the markets in Texas. So it wasn't isolated to just the Austin region. But at the same time, we were seeing high inflation. So the inflationary cost of the single family, as well as the increase in the mortgage rates, really kind of created some strong headwinds in the Austin housing market. We have seen a little bit of a softening. Now, this is total home sales by month over the last 2.5 years, and that median price, it is the highest of the 4 major markets. So you have the most expensive average price for home sales. A year ago, it was $578,000. It has softened down to about $567,000. Median price has dropped from $455 down to $442. We have seen an increase in the number of listings. So the increase in listings adds to some supply, could continue to see a little bit of a softening there as we get into the spring season in 2025. Also, our economist, our chief economist with Zonda, believes we could see an additional rate reduction in the first quarter. Those rate reductions, ideally, if we could get that interest rate down near 5%, would really go a long way with helping those really young families with making the home purchase decisions. Now, here's the total home sales in the Bastrop School District. You can see 2022 was a big year. We had about 2,300 home sales. And again, it dropped because primarily the rising interest rates and that high inflationary cost of housing. We expect 2024, when we get through the end of this year, likely to be at about 1,200 to 1,300 total home sales in 2024 as well. Here's a look at the average price for new homes in Bastrop. You can see it's continued to go up. In 2023, the average price for a new home about $424,000. Year to date in 2025, $475,000. The existing home price also at about $400,000. One of the effects the interest rates have caused for existing homeowners, they've stayed put because they likely took advantage of those low interest rates a few years ago. So we're seeing a shortage there because they don't want to move up or move to a different area because they've got those really low interest rates. So if we get those interest rates back down in 2025, we could see some turn in some of the existing home sales as well. We track the data for all the school districts in the Austin region based on annual closings. Bastrop is in that 9th spot with about 775 closings. You'll see we had a little bit of a drop in starts. I do expect that number is going to pick up pretty significantly in the spring as we get new lots delivered, but the annual start rate is about 486 homes in the last 12 months. We've got 4,197 vacant developed lots, so a very high supply of VDL. Future lots, we've got over 21,000 futures. Futures are concept plans. They are future phases of existing developments. Those are lots that we have information on. Now, you have tremendous amounts of raw ag land beyond that, so you really do have a very long growth horizon that goes beyond these lots that we show here, because these are the lots that we have either information from the city or from interviews with the developers and from what we're tracking in that development process. When we break it all out by your elementary attendance zones, the Colony Oaks is the most active with 183 annual starts. Your second most active is the Mena Elementary Zone with 114. And then you've got Blue Bonnet with 74 starts, Emile with 64 starts. So very good activity in 3 elementary zones, but you do have activity taking place in roughly 5 elementary zones. Again, the vacant developed lot supply, very healthy, and over 21,000 futures. This is just another way to look at this data. These are your current elementary attendance zones. The green shaded areas are your active subdivisions. The yellow shaded areas are the futures that are in the planning stages. And you can see where we have a red outline. Those are areas where we are seeing future lot activity with new lots being delivered in those areas with the red outline. We have 31 actively building subdivisions, 19 future subdivisions. We have groundwork underway on about 1,900 lots in 11 different subdivisions. A lot of that will be delivered within the next 3 to 5 months. Some of the highlights, the Colony, your most active, it's over 5,000 lots, 2,900 or 2,974 futures. So a lot of future lots left in the Colony. They're building about 214 homes a year. So very strong activity. Do suspect it will continue at a very strong pace. They do have groundwork underway on about 184 lots in Phase 1F. This is a new future that is Valverde. It's about 1,400 future lots. The groundwork is underway on about 352 lots in Phase 1. Anticipate home building starting anytime now, probably first quarter of 25 is when we'll see some real significant activity in Valverde. Just south of Highway 71, we've got Adelton, which is 1,500 lots. This is the location of elementary number 9. We've got 28 vacant developed lots, so they have gotten started with 9 homes under construction. This is David Weekly, and those homes start at 350 and above. Double Eagle Ranch, 753 total lots, 61 vacant developed lots. We had 48 homes under construction when we did the research. This is Meritage Home Builder, and groundwork is underway on their remaining lots. You can see that satellite image from October. They've poured the streets, so they're likely very close to getting those lots accepted. We'll definitely see home construction surging in that phase in 2025. The Birdall tract is 455 acres. It's approximately 804 future lots. The preliminary plat for 300 lots was approved in April of 2022. The initial groundwork is underway. That's the satellite image from October, and you can see the dirt work. They've got the streets kind of forming up there. Likely those will get paved in the springtime. Could be summertime, late summer, fall before we start to see home activity in the Birdall tract. Next is Los Milagros, which is 753 total lots, 107 vacant developed lots. They do have groundwork and the road work underway on their remaining lots, so about 343 lots are in the development pipeline there. You can see from the satellite image from September, the roads are pretty much in, so they'll likely start surging construction in Los Milagros this spring as well. That was just some of the highlights on the single family. On the multifamily big picture across the Austin region, this bar graph represents the occupancy rates, and you'll notice we've seen very low occupancy rates for the last year, and they've gotten down to below 84% is the occupancy rate. You can see the effective and the market rent rates have really started dropping off. It's a very good time to be a renter because those rent rates have dropped about 5%. And with the sheer number of multifamily that's still under construction, I don't see those occupancy rates moving up anytime soon because we've got so much multifamily under construction. We've got about 46% of the apartment complexes offering concessions. In fact, I'm doing a review for Hutto ISD, and I noticed a single family for rent community in Hutto, and they're offering 10 weeks of free rent, an HEB gift card of about $300, a Roomba, and all kinds of incentives because they're so desperate to get those renters into this community. And that's the kind of competitiveness that we're seeing in multifamily right now. I set that all up because you do have multifamily under construction in your school district. We've got about 800 multifamily units under construction. That's the purple shaded areas. But we have an additional 1,800 multifamily units that are in various stages of planning. The Bastrop 75 is a 650-unit apartment complex under construction. It is a mixed-use development that will have some retail, some dining, some medical, likely some emergency kind of clinic, also a 150-room hotel. You can see the satellite image from October. They're likely very close to starting to lease those units in the Bastrop 75. That was the highlights on the single family and the multifamily. Wanted to touch on the enrollment picture for this year. The gold bar across that top table, that's the enrollment from this fall. And that enrollment was about 13,373. We had growth of about 367 students, almost 3% of growth this year. And then that light purple shaded set of row of numbers in the middle, that's what we forecasted for this fall. We forecasted the enrollment to be at about 13,497, and then you can see the difference by grade level. The elementary grade levels actually came in overall very close. So the elementary numbers right on with what we forecasted. We were a little off at the middle and the high school grade levels. So the high school, middle school grade levels are where we saw the biggest difference, but still we were right at 1% variance, and that's what we shoot for. We like to be within 1%. That bottom table is showing you the grade level change. So anytime you see a number that is greater than 1, that means that grade level is growing. You can see this year's kindergarten class grew 8%, which was really good. Actually, it grew a little higher than we forecasted. And then those high school grade levels that drop off below 1, we see that at virtually every high school that we work with. So that is not any specific issue with Bastrop. It's just a high school function of kids not getting quite enough credits. So then they pin up there just a little bit, and that's what caused that 9th grade number to be so big, is because of a credit issue, not really a retention issue, but a credit issue. And again, that happens at all the high schools that we work with. The important number to look at the high school is that bottom far right number. As long as that number is averaging 1, then it's good. When it averages less than 1, then that means there is something going on there. But right now you can see historically you're averaging 1 or greater. Now here's a look at the projections by grade level. You'll notice that we have bumped it up a little bit, so we do believe heading into 2025 with the new lots that are being delivered, with the potential for another drop in the interest rates, that the housing market is positioning for a little bit of a bump in the spring and in the summer. And because of your location to the job growth, that we think that the reality is you could be doing anywhere from 1,000 single-family homes per year in the near future, plus you're still going to be seeing the multifamily, and in the rural areas, you do also have some manufactured housing growth. So those kind of things, all three of those components really put you in a position to see that 3 to 4% growth for the foreseeable future. Now, here's what it looks like with your current grade configuration, your current elementary boundaries, and your intermediate middle boundaries. And what you'll notice is the yellow shaded cell is when that enrollment exceeds the capacity. Of course, the elementary number 9 is physically going to be located in the Colony Oaks elementary zone, so that new elementary number 9 is going to have a dramatic impact on Colony Oaks and probably also Mena because of its location to that zone. Now, the challenge that we see with all of the attendance zone projects that look similar to yours, we work with a lot of districts that have this same picture, and the challenge is you're opening an elementary, but you need to relieve 5 to 6 elementaries. So I've reviewed your plan. Your plan does a really good job of what I would call kind of the cascade or the domino moves. You pull off a lot of kids from Colony Oaks. Now, it is your fastest growing elementary zone, but we're also pulling off a significant number off of Mena. So then that provides some opportunities to do some of these little movements that I'll show you when we get to the attendance zone piece. But the reality is, in 2025, we're going to see a pretty significant reduction in that number of yellow cells that's going to likely cover you at least 2 to 3 years. And so at the middle school grade levels, right now, that's just the intermediate, I believe, is serving the 6th grade, and the middles are serving the 7th and 8th. Then when we get into the attendance zone exercise, we will show you what happens when we have 4 6 through 8 buildings with those new attendance zones. The key takeaways: economic growth is increasing throughout the Bastrop and Del Valley areas. That's really referring to the Tesla plant. So far in 2024, new home sales in Bastrop, they account for about 28% of the total home sales. I do expect that number is going to go up in the next couple of years. We have 31 actively building subdivisions with nearly 4,200 available lots to build on. We've got 19 future subdivisions with over 21,600 lots in the planning stages. We've got groundwork underway on 1,900 lots. We do believe your enrollment will get to about 16,200 students in 2029, or in 5 years, and about 19,300 students in 10 years. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board?
And I might have broke a record in words
Just
per
very
minute.
thorough. Yeah.
Quite a pace.
These are interesting times. I'm going to call them challenging times. And this next legislative session will be very important. And we will be probably pushing to do our spring report a little later so that we can understand what happens in the legislative session. Now, we'll certainly talk to administration about the timing of that. We'll probably get a glimpse of that in late January, early February. So we'll start to get a clue as to how it's going to look, but they're going to fight it out for several months. So it likely could be late spring, early summer before we really see the impacts of that legislative bill. So,
And with that, I know your report focuses on Bastrop ISD, but do you take into consideration the other schools located in our district that are not part of Bastrop ISD?
yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why this next session is going to be so important, to understand what's going to happen with vouchers or some form of that. And then is it going to be primarily for, will there be any allowance for homeschool, which that's the one I fear the most. And because if it does, then we could see a huge surge there of families wanting to take advantage of either a tax break or some kind of payment that I don't believe would be very helpful. Next, we'll get to the attendance zone. Review of the proposed boundaries. And this is the big picture. So starting with the big picture, you can see the kind of gold shaded zone. That is the proposed zone for elementary 9. The red outlines are the current elementary attendance zone lines, and the shaded areas are the new or the proposed elementaries for the 25-26 school year. You'll see from that the gold shaded area, elementary number 9, it's taking a large section off of Colony Oaks, but it's also taken a section off of Mena. Now, I am going to zoom in. We have additional slides to where we'll go into more detail and show you the close-up looks at those changes. And when we look at the zoomed-in view of elementary 9, again, it's primarily south of Highway 71. It's taking a large portion off of Colony Oaks. That Colony Oaks section, it represents about 261 elementary students. So about 261 current elementary students live in that zone that are likely going to Colony Oaks that would be zoned for elementary number 9. And then when you go across that red line, that's the SH304. So that area is currently in Mena, and that represents about 226 students that would come off of Mena into the elementary number 9 zone. And then there's that kind of purple shaded area that's in that kind of wedge of Mena. That's about 73 students that would be zoned to Emile. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay. So any questions on this map right now? And I will have forecasted numbers that I'll show you. Once I go through all of the slides, you'll be able to see the forecasted enrollment for these new zones. Next, we're going to look kind of at the far west area of the district. And this is, that red outline again represents the current elementary for Camino Real. And you'll notice that kind of purple shaded area, that represents about 104 current students that would be zoned from Camino Real to Cedar Creek. But there's also some future development in that open space in there that at some point could represent about 700 single-family lots. So that is does provide some relief to Camino Real. Next, we're going to look at the Lost Pines area. And if you remember from the forecast that I showed a few slides earlier, Lost Pines was one of those that got a little bit over capacity. So this is a way to pull some kids off of Lost Pines. That's about 95 students kind of in that sliver to the west of State Highway 95. That would be rezoned from Lost Pines to Mena. That's that domino effect that happens where you move some kids out, and now that gives you the opportunity to move some kids in. Next, we're going to look at the Bluebonnet area, and we've got that kind of small section there off of FM 1209. That represents about 17 students that would move from the Bluebonnet, moving from Bluebonnet to Colony Oaks. And then to the south of Colony Oaks, that area would move from Colony Oaks to Bluebonnet. Now there's currently only about 13 kids there right now, but there is some future lots, there's some apartment complexes, so it's deceiving in what it really, even though it shows a small, very small number right now, over time, that can turn into a pretty significant number. Also, because of how that access road works, it really drives well around to Bluebonnet. So even though it looks like it's really close to Colony Oaks, it's really not that close in terms of how they have to access and how they have to get around. So that's, you know, an important consideration was that entrance and exit off of there to get around on the access part of 71. Next, we're going to look at the area, that blue shaded area that will be moving from Emile to Mena. That represents about 26 students. And then again, in the bottom left corner, that's the thumb of that would be moving from Mena to Emile. That represents about 75 students. Again, kind of taking another look just at that Emile area, that's the 75 that's moving from Mena to Emile, and then you've got the 261 that are moving from Mena to elementary number 9. Again, and we've already covered most of these areas that we're moving here. Now looking at, kind of taking a closer look at the Colony Oaks, which is the purple shaded area. You'll notice we've got that section moving from Bluebonnet to Colony Oaks. That's about 17 students. And then we've got that yellow shaded area moving from Colony Oaks to Bluebonnet. We're also moving that area, if you look to the north on this slide, that's moving from Colony Oaks to Mena. There's nothing there right now, but that's the famous, infamous XS Ranch that I know we've had it on our maps for years, and I don't know if there's been any recent news on that, but it is one that does potentially represent a lot of lots. It's just on the radar that still could be several years down the road. Now, with all those changes, here's the look at the enrollment projections. I'll point out elementary number 9 first. So next year, it could open minimum of 515. The reality is that number would be higher than that because that number does not include the staff transfers that would likely come. So we don't know how those staff transfers will work out until you get it actually staffed. But historically, when we see this with other districts, when a new campus opens for the first time, it tends to have anywhere from 20 to 40 transfers that are of the staff primarily, and some others that may want to be there for some other reasons. But ideally, that number would open probably around 550. The other changes there, you can see we've eliminated all of the overcrowding for next year. So all the yellow is gone next year, and in the 26-27 area year, it's Cedar Creek that is just barely over capacity. And then in 2027, we've got Camino Real, Cedar Creek, Colony Oaks, you know, and I'm not sure when your next elementary is coming online, but it's probably going to need to be coming on the following year. So the timing is going to really be pretty good for that. Any questions on the forecasted numbers, or the need to go back and look at any of the plans?
Any questions from the board? A lot of information. Ms. Seacatches.
At the meetings that we have with the public, will they be able to make input, or are we just?
Yes, they will give us, we will collect their feedback and their input. They may have some suggestions that we didn't consider or didn't see in evaluating all of the boundary lines. And a lot of that could just be like wishes, like we really want to be in a different zone, and but any actual feedback, we will definitely consider that.
Okay.
I'm assuming, well, I'll ask it anyway. Given the boundaries, giving the children, do we also, I'm assuming, look into the transportation and the impact and what it's going to cost us and who's going to be transported?
Yes, ma'am. Gold Star Transit was completely involved in this process, and they were extremely helpful. The one that Bob showed about that aqua right there, that used to be in Colony Oaks and is now moving to Mena, that was 2 kids, but a bus had to drive all the way up 95 and then all the way back down and then 71 over. As the crow flies, it looks like they should go to Colony Oaks. So that was really a nice correction that we made. So they were involved in really helping us out with the transportation routes and where buses were naturally going to go to avoid making extra unnecessary routes.
And any other questions? All right, Mr. Templeton, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Great job.
That's just elementary.
Here we go for
Let's go.
the middle schools.
Part way home.
We're not done yet.
I only have one slide, 2 slides. I have 2 slides on the middle school plan, and the middle school plan does move you to 4 6 through 8 attendance zones. The 2 middle schools do feed pure, these are still pure feeders, so the kind of dark blue and the light blue would feed into Cedar Hill, and the light brown and dark brown would feed into Bastrop. So you are maintaining a pure feeder pattern for your middle schools to your high schools. The elementary to middles, they're not pure. So there's too many nuances and too many just kind of nooks and crannies of your district. Also, the locations of the intermediates to middles did create some real unique opportunities for drawing boundaries. That so you know, with your intermediate and middle, especially Bastrop, they're really close together. But it's primarily there's a majority of elementaries are feeding. Cedar Creek is split pretty well between the middle school number 4 and Cedar Creek Middle School. But roughly, yeah, it's about 2 to 2.5 elementaries are feeding into these middle schools. Any questions, and I'll do my best to answer any locations or boundary issues with the middle school plan. We'll also provide a very detailed street label map so that you can zoom in. That's what's hard when you're at this kind of scale. You really can't do street labels because it just overwhelms the map. But we can create a large map that you can zoom into online and be able to see the details of the streets. With these boundaries, you'll notice that each of the one middle school in each of the feeder patterns will approach capacity in about 3 to 4 years. So middle school number 4, which is in the Cedar Hill attendance zone, Cedar Creek, approaches capacity in about 3 years, and in the Bastrop High Zone, Bastrop Middle School would approach capacity in about 4 years. So regardless, you're going to hit that total capacity, no matter how you do the zones, you're going to hit total capacity in about 2030 to 2031. Be happy to answer any questions on the middle school zones or forecast.
Any questions from the board? All right, what else you have for us?
That's it.
That's it, all right. Well, great job, thank you very much, and there's a lot of time and effort put in this, and a lot of our team as well. And
you're welcome.
So we appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, moving along here, our police department report, safety security report, as well as human resource report were for information only, which will take us into our consent agenda items. Would any board member like to pull any consent agenda items for discussion? I know we do have a request from Trustee Armstrong on items C and D, and I would ask Ms. Renee Wingard to please, we'll do a team effort to maybe answer some of these questions here.
I will do my best.
That'd be a team effort between y'all.
It's more educational than anything else. On the Bastrop County, it's the, what is that? The approval of tax roll. Is that what we are projected to collect, or it's the interest in sinking, maintenance, and operation? It comes out with total 2024 tax levy, $90,462,000 and change.
Renee, we can get the question.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at it, if I'm being completely honest.
I know, I apologize,
That's okay.
I'll try to get them early well, okay, I was
We
fishing
haven't-
this
we've had
weekend,
a-
I didn't look at it.
Yeah.
Until today, full disclosure. What do we,
We're having a,
I can definitely get an answer
Yeah.
for you.
okay, so that is the, okay, so that's the projected, that is what we're hoping to collect. Okay.
Do I have
okay.
this?
Yeah, taxes, okay.
Yes.
Okay, and then the next one has to do with the general fund budget, just the adjustment, and I think he might have answered it. There was a $201,000, call it $202,000 transportation adjustment, and it had to cover 2 additional routes. Is that on a continuous basis? Is that going to affect our budget, or was what the talk of the two students and you had to go back and forth?
No, that was not that particular route. These are just extra routes that we had to add this year because of more students taking transportation.
Okay.
Or more students moving into the district. And we already know we will be adding more routes next year.
So will that adversely affect our budget this year? The transportation budget?
It should not. It is an addition, Ms. Armstrong, but we have that stabilization money that we have in fund balance to help cover things like this.
Okay.
And so that's where you'll see some of these amendments take place.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
and definitely as we grow, we're probably gonna have more of those opportunities.
Yeah, I just didn't know
Yeah.
if this was like, oh, surprise, and then we'd have to.
I also know at the end of last year, we didn't have the full amount of fleet to be able, occupy for the routes, so that those 2 that we're carrying forward into this year, we knew that they were coming, and so we did budget at a level to be maximum, so those should be included in that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right, any other questions on the consent agenda items?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. This will take us into our action items. We'll consider approval of names of elementary 9, middle school 3, middle school 4. Presenter is Dr. Lee, Deputy Superintendent. Welcome back, Ms. Lee.
Thank you very much. So we are naming or recommending to you names for schools under policy CW Local X. Under this policy, you as the board have the sole authority for naming schools or other district facilities. In the policy, schools can be named because they're a historical or geographical site, they're based upon a local, state or national historical event, or a national or a figure. Somebody who has made a significant contribution to education in Bastrop ISD, or the neighborhood in which the school or facility is located. So our process, BISD sought nominations from the public, anybody who lived within the boundaries of BISD, so that could include employees, parents, or community members. The nomination period was publicized in multiple locations for a period of time, and then you as the board appointed individuals to serve on a committee to evaluate all of those nominations. And they were here, they just couldn't hold out. But thank you so much for those nominations that you submitted. They did a fantastic job. As part of the policy, we consider, are there any conflicts of interest? And I'm happy to say there were no conflicts of interest presented. So we looked at more than 200 nominations for all three schools combined. The committee did show a clear preference for not naming a school after an individual, but instead focused their nominations on a neighborhood or a geographic characteristic where the schools were located. So what follows are the committee's recommendations for elementary school number 9, which is in the Adelton subdivision off of FM 20 near Highway 71, middle school number 3 in Bastrop, which is currently Bastrop Intermediate, and middle school number 4 in Cedar Creek, which is Cedar Creek Intermediate. So if I had a drum roll, I would use it, but I don't. So the recommendation for elementary school number 9 is Adelton Elementary School. And in case you're wondering, it is pronounced Adelton. It's not Adelton or Adelton, it is Adelton Elementary School. The recommendation for middle school number 3 in Bastrop is Riverside Middle School. And the recommendation for middle school number 4 in Cedar Creek is Creekside Middle School. So there you have it, board. I'm happy to take any questions if you have them about the process or the policy or the names.
Adelton, is that a last name, a community name, a subdivision name?
It has, it comes from the name Adel, which means noble in German.
Okay.
And so that's what the developers of that community wanted a community that was of nobility, that inspired community and neighborhood gatherings.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thank you very much for all your
Thank you, and I want to thank the
team
committee.
effort and the committee and.
Yes, absolutely. They did a tremendous job, and really happy with these names. So you have it now.
All right. I move to approve the names of elementary number 9, middle school number 3, middle school number 4 as presented. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Lee.
Thank you.
Next, we consider approval of memorandum of understanding between Walgreens and Bastrop ISD. Back to the podium is Dr. Brantley, our Director of College and Career and Military Readiness.
Hello, thank
It's a
you.
long title.
It is.
Good
It
one,
sure is. It is a great one. So tonight I bring to you a memorandum of understanding with Walgreens Pharmacy, which would allow our pharmacy technician students to complete internship hours toward their certification as a pharmacy tech. The only thing is that we provide students for work-based learning, they provide hours for us, and that is the agreement. Happy to answer any questions.
We're able to use both locations here in Bastrop.
We are.
Awesome.
I anticipate about 12 this year. As our P-Tech program grows up next year, though, we'll have seniors that'll be doing that as well. So we'll probably have about 24 that year and then continue about 10 or so more the subsequent years at a max of 60 per year.
They can use the help.
They can.
Any other questions from the board?
I move to approve the memorandum of understanding between Walgreens and Bastrop ISD as presented.
We have a motion. We have a second. Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
All
you.
right, moving along. Thank you, Dr. Brantley. Moving along to consider approval of memorandum of understanding between Sustainable Food Center and Bastrop ISD. Patricia Flores, our Director of Multilingual Programs.
Good evening again. I bring to you a memorandum of understanding between Sustainable Food and our district. And this MOU would outline a partnership between Sustainable Food and our district to be able to provide training and support for our families to be able to create healthy meals at home. It's a really exciting opportunity for them to come and actually cook. And at the end of every class, they will be able to take home all of the ingredients so that they can actually make the food at home as well.
So these are classes for the parents
Yes, sir.
at our campuses?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And how many campuses roughly?
We would like to host it at one campus, start off with one school, be able to use the kitchen at one of our campuses, again, so that they can get a hands-on opportunity to be able to actually cook the food.
And the cost of the food is absorbed by
The company.
this company?
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah, it is free to our parents. We have to have a minimum of 15 families to enroll to be able to host it.
Okay.
Just in case is new to cooking.
Well, I mean, like, they won't be like, my understanding is like the prep work is already done. It's actually like just putting the food together.
Okay.
So not actually like putting in ovens or on stoves.
Oh, and then they'll cook it at
Yes.
home.
Uh-huh.
Got it.
Yes.
That's safe.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, so,
We'll have our safety security guy, he's good at serving salad, so we'll.
yeah.
Right. It's a.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, yes.
All right, any other questions for Ms. Flores? I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I move to approve the memorandum of understanding between Sustainable Food Center and Bastrop ISD as presented.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Flores.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, and next is a consider approval of affiliation agreement between Calvin University and Bastrop ISD. We have Derek Eberly here, our Director of Special Programs and Services. Welcome.
Good evening, Board. Mr. Edwards. Today, I'd like you to consider an affiliation agreement between Calvin University and in the beautiful city of Grand Rapids, Michigan. I believe it's beautiful. I don't know. But
Probably cold right now.
we do these affiliation agreements to hopefully recruit interns. This one is specifically a speech intern. How did you find Calvin University, you may ask, Derek? We have another speech language pathologist that had ties to this person in that university. So, you know, they love working for us. I've heard they've got a pretty good boss. And so we go all the way up to Michigan, you know, next is Canada. So.
All right, any more questions for Mr. Eberly?
Will this be online, or are they actually coming down?
They will be here.
They'll
Yes,
be,
ma'am.
they'll be here.
They'll be here, and hopefully they'll be here for an internship and then a solid 10 years after that.
Awesome. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I move to approve the affiliation agreement between Calvin University and Bastrop ISD as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Eberly. All right, moving along here, the item E has been pulled from the agenda for further consideration, which takes us into consider resolution voting on candidates of the Bastrop Central Appraisal District Board of Directors. And so the Bastrop Central Appraisal District has determined the official slate of the candidates for their Board of Directors. Bastrop ISD has been allotted 2,151 votes out of the total of 5,000 to cast for the candidates of its choice. Candidates who receive the largest cumulative vote totals will become appointed to serve on the Board of Directors. The resolution of the list of candidates is as followed: Sandra Archer, Justin Benzer, David Glass, Jeannie Ralph, David Ridd, and Dr. Bill Satterfield. As you can see, we have 6, so the 5 with the most votes will be on that board. And so looking at what some of the other cities and school districts have voted, We do have one city that has not and one small school district that hasn't. In the past, we have always, the Bastrop ISD has always put their votes toward David Reed, who's done a great job. I think he's the president of that board. And Bill Archer, who retired and asked us to consider his wife, Sandra, who's the CFO of the Grove Restaurants. I believe there's 5 of them in the Austin area. And so split or give each one of them 850 votes. And then David Glass, who has served on there and does an excellent job, 351 votes. And Justin Benzer give that individual 100 votes, which should total the 2,151 votes. But that would be my motion.
I second that.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. The rest of the items are information items. The Board of Trustees calendar of events, enrollment, single budget purchases more than 50,000. Legislative priorities for the 89th legislative session are all for information only, which takes us into our closed session. The board will now convene into a closed meeting to discuss the following items posted on the agenda this evening, followed by the Texas Government 551.074. No voting will take place in this closed meeting. Any action of this board wishes to take will result of the discussion in the closed session will be taken in place after board reconvenes into the open meeting. So it is now 7:40, and we will go into closed session. The time now is 8:02 PM, and the board will now reconvene into open session. I will entertain a motion at this time.
I move to approve the recommendation of the superintendent as presented to give notice of the proposed termination of the identified probationary contract teacher.
Second.
The motion is second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Any objections to adjourning this meeting? There are none. Meeting is adjourned. Have a good evening.
You didn't say.
Follow the script.
It's just posted.
There we go. All right. We adjourned a little early, so we're going to come back in and reconvene. We're going to cancel the regular school board meeting previously scheduled for the December 17th, 2024. This will allow our administration and staff to finalize tasks prior to the end of the semester to start of their winter break. Any upcoming agenda items or immediate attention will be listed on the January board meeting. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.